Ibara, Aoi, and Taiko are heading toward one of the world's largest ghost towns, a place where the environment seems to have been destroyed. Vice Principal Mishima calls them and tells them to go to the city center and not to use their phones. They're assigned to investigate the city on the ground, looking for people. Mishima then sends them to check out a SOS signal and orders his soldiers to get ready. Cheerful Aoi wants to take a break, and so they signal the vice principal. Ibara injects herself with a balanced nutrient instead of eating food. They then hear a voice from nearby and find someone in a hazmat suit lying on the ground. He is suffering from contamination and asking for help. Ibara gives him a shot of ether to cure him and the vice principal's chopper lands to take him away. Everyone else, besides the 3 girls, is wearing special suits. Mishima scolds Ibara for using the drug as they have limited quantities and it should only be used for people with minor symptoms. The man they just saved asks how the girls can be okay without wearing a mask or a hazmat suit. It is then revealed that they are known as Coppelians, genetically engineered children born with a strong resistance to this environment. The girls find a dog and some birds, making them happy that they are not the only ones here. As they head toward the SOS signal, they notice that Principal Mishima is broadcasting on TV, wanting to show the epicenter to people. Most of the time, the epicenter is shrouded in a thick fog, composed of fine particles known as hot particles. A dog follows the girls, making their search for people more difficult. Taiko goes to keep the dog busy while the others look for the origin of the signal. Her love for animals is written into her DNA. Eventually, they find what they were searching for, but the person has apparently committed suicide. Aoi then sees something in the mirror and warns Ibara. A wolf is attacking them, but Ibara tranquilizes it. This incident reminds them that the city is now like an uninhabited forest, making them worry about Taiko. But, are they too late? Ibara and Aoi find an injured wolf, wounded by a bullet. Someone takes Taiko hostage, demanding his daughter back, and they are surprised that the girls are not wearing hazmat suits. The girls introduce themselves as a special unit from the Ground Self-Defense Force 3rd Division. Taiko sets herself free, and Ibara shoots the man with ether. Kawabata explains that his daughter Miku went missing. He takes the girls to his house and tells them more about their situation. They had been criminals before everything got destroyed, and they chose to remain in the city out of fear of being arrested again. Mushano Koji, the head of the research team, calls the vice principal to inform him that the hazmat suit they retrieved from the site is more effective than their own suits. They conclude that Miku might have gone to see her mother's grave. Ibara leaves Aoi with Yukiko, Miku's stepmother, and sets out to find the little girl. They reach a place where normal people can't go past, and Ibara and Taiko have to go alone. They find the grave, but Miku is not there. When Aoi goes to the bathroom, Yukiko has gone missing. She informs Ibara, and when they return to Kawabata, he is also missing. The girls use the dog they found to track Yukiko. Ibara rushes into the hotel alone. Yukiko does not want her to come closer, as she does not want to leave the city and risk being separated from her daughter. Ibara begs her to save the child. The building starts to collapse, but Yukiko sacrifices herself to save Miku. After rescuing Miku, they see a red flare, thinking it is from Kawabata, and they all go to save him too, but they are too late. They send Miku to safety and begin their mission to look for more survivors again. Mishima asks Heiji Tanizaki about the man who has been delivering relief supplies to the people in the old capital and if he is also a death row inmate like him, but he can't get the answers he wants. The dog found a key and led the girls to the prison building, where they found 2 armed men. When Ibara asked permission to open fire, Mishima ordered her to capture them alive. Ibara showed herself and said she was there because of their SOS call for help. The guy who seemed to be the leader figured out that someone must have sent the SOS signal, because they were late in delivering supplies due to the new zones. Zones are areas that are especially contaminated. The professor explains that some people had gone missing in the area. The girls recognize their names and tell him that, other than Granny Ayame, they are now in a safe place. They drive towards the shrine, but it turned out to be one of the zones. The professor believes that these highly contaminated zones were man-made. Mushano Koki found out the identity of the professor and informed Mishima that he is called Denjiro Shiba. He was a scientist working for TriStar Industries who specialized in atomic physics. He was also the one in charge of designing the plant that caused the big accident, and he was the one who developed the theory behind the barrier hazmat suit over 3 decades ago. He was also in charge of designing the plant that caused the big accident. Since humans couldn't go much further into the zone, girls had to go alone. But before departing, Ibara injected ether into the professor and his companion. According to her, these drugs were made of cells extracted from their bodies. When Mishima contacted Ibara to tell her about what they had found on the delivery man, the professor also heard their conversation through the radio he had given to Ibara. The professor didn't plan to run or hide, he wanted to atone for his sins. Granny Ayame radioed her location and asked for help. Kamada, the professor's companion, asked to make this their last mission and to get on the helicopter to safety after saving the granny. The professor's truck crashed due to an explosion. Ibara told Aoi and Taiko to protect the professor and went to search for Ayame alone. Ibara found Ayame's radio. Everyone rushed into the building and saw an aircraft in the air. The professor blamed himself for everyone's suffering. Taiko, with her special senses, saw that the B-2 bomber was preparing to land. The vice principal suggested that it might belong to some foreign invader and sent Ibara to find out more about it. Granny Ayame was being dragged into the bomber. They started firing at Ibara, but she used smoke to free Ayame. The rest of the group arrived in a jeep. Aoi found a projectile and they chased after the aircraft. Bomber attacks them from the rear. Ibara shoots at the aircraft, but their air-to-air missiles easily neutralize the attack. She remembers the aircraft's blind spot and fires at it from behind. The damaged aircraft heads for the boat race stadium, as it is a danger zone, and the professor has to return to base while the girls chase after the bomber. They find a dead body and take a boat to reach the aircraft. Aoi notices the yellow canisters in the water. They are the source of the severe contamination in the area. As they figure out, the aircraft was carrying these canisters here. While Ibara was reporting in, Aoi finds a sticker. Mishima tells them there is a supposed back-end company called Yellow Cake in Japan with responsibility for disposing of spent fuel and hazardous waste products. Probably, they accepted to take these wastes from foreign countries in exchange for a huge amount of money to dispose them in an already contaminated city. The girls are upset by mankind's greed and can't stop their tears. Kamada hears everything and asks for the professor. The girls realize that the professor has lied to them. He wants to take responsibility for the accident. The girls tried to find the professor, but had no clue as to his whereabouts. Granny Ayame told them that he might be at the shrine south of the row of Zelkova trees. Ibara found the professor in the shrine, but he had taken off his mask in order to commit suicide and to feel the breeze for one last time. He had only 10 minutes until his last dose of ether wore off. Mishima had also lost his wife and daughter in the incident. His chopper arrived in the last moments, delivering more ether to give the professor 10 more minutes. Ibara and the girls cried at making it in time. Mishima reached out his hand to the professor, taking them to safety. The professor then gave his handbook to Ibara, which contained the list of people who had remained in the old capital. Looking at those girls, the professor could see what it meant to be truly human. The girls continue on their journey, and Mishima informs them that they will be using shelter choppers to contain the high-level waste. While the chopper is heading back, they are fired upon by a tank. The girls find a turned-over car with a man and his pregnant daughter inside. While they are trying to help them, Mishima informs them that one of their choppers has been shot down, and that all the containers they were using were stolen. The pregnant woman then tells them there are ghosts of the self-defense force in the area. The 1st Division then arrives. They were the ones who fired on them. Ibara releases a smoke bomb to give them time to run away. After they reach a safe place, Gojiro informs them that the 1st Division had never previously tried to harm them. According to Mishima, they were the core of the forces protecting the city and were supposedly wiped out immediately after the accident. The girls devise a plan to get to a hideout, but the persistent soldiers find them when Ibuki is having contractions. Right before they start firing, someone in an armored car comes to their aid, and everyone gets inside and flees. It seems that Taiko has been shot. On the orders of the Prime Minister, Mishima is acting as security for the conference. In his limousine, Prime Minister Natsume invites them to talk. Ibara informs him of Taiko's condition, and the news of the 1st Division shocks him. He orders the girls to prioritize eliminating them rather than saving people's lives. Ibuki introduced their rescuers as Foreman Kurube and Genai. Mishima asked Chief Cabinet Secretary Ugai if there was something they needed to know about the Prime Minister and 1st Division, but Ugai did not answer their question. They reached the hideout called Planet. A humanoid robot called No Sense greeted everyone and led them to the multi-purpose hall. The girls were amazed by what they saw. Mishima called Mushenokoji to get the cleanup crew as support for the girls, but he said it was a violation of the law and that they would need the Prime Minister's permission. However, after Mishima offered to bring him good food, he was convinced to help. The cleanup crew sets out to rendezvous with the medical unit. Kurube shows Ibara his armory and asks if there are any male Coppelions. Ibara says there is one in the cleaning crew, but she doesn't know the details of the other Coppelions' duties. Suddenly, an intruder sets off the alarm. Aoi believes it must be the wolf and sets off to bring it inside, but she gets caught by the 1st Division. The 1st Division believes they have right to govern the old capital, and they demand that the Coppelions join them or they will kill Aoi. When Ibara does not answer immediately, the 1st Division withdraws with Aoi. Kurube decides to take Ibara to their hideout. Ibara tries to save Aoi, but she is unable to shoot. The soldiers then begin to beat her. Just then, Haruto from the cleaning crew arrives at the perfect moment and fights with the enemy to save the girls. When Ibara wakes up, she frantically asks for Aoi, only to find out that they have left her behind. Haruto then reveals that he stuck a transmitter on Aoi that can detect life signs, and he wants to use her to monitor the First Division, which makes Ibara angry. Ibara and Haruto start a fire on the roof of a building and start talking, and Ibara asks what the cleanup crew does. Before Haruto can answer, the transmitter sends a signal: the First Division is on the move. Their leader tells Aoi that they just need some assistance and that they will send her back home after they are done. Ibara finds the First Division loading wastes into trucks. While Kurobe lures them away with an explosion, Haruto and Ibara stay behind to save Aoi. Haruto starts shooting, and Aoi shouts to let them know her location. The enemy commander catches Ibara and attempts to make her surrender, but when Ibara does not answer, he orders his soldiers to shoot at them. One of the soldiers then lets Aoi run away. Haruto asks Aoi about Ibara, but she starts crying and points to Ibara, lying on the ground.